Hey there, and welcome to the UkeStuff channel, and welcome to this UkeGuide review of the Aklot Solid Acacia High Gloss Concert Ukulele. This one came to me from Aklot. I want to thank them for this opportunity to take a look at this instrument. I am a fan of Aklot's instrument. Aklot is connected with Camis and with Horse Ukulele. They're all part of the same larger company, but they're sort of different divisions. And Aklot has kind of had a different path. They started off selling a solid top mahogany instrument, which I reviewed a while ago and actually gave to my niece. Put different strings on it and loved it, but gave it away because she was looking for an ukulele. And then they came out with bamboo ukuleles. And I've had a chance to own them and review them. I've even sold a tenor of mine that I'd bought, but I have a concert version of it. And this is their latest project. It's a solid acacia instrument. And it's really quite nice. And we'll talk all the way through it in this review. Now, ultimately, I do a lot of talking in these reviews, and I don't apologize for it. You have the power of the internet in your hands, and there are chapters down here, and you can jump to parts of this video that matter to you. So we'll be taking a look at subjective issues, opinion issues that I have on the instrument. Then we'll talk about specifications of the instrument, and then I'll come back with a summary statement and a actual UkeGuide rating where I give a rating between 1, actually 0, and 5 ukuleles. It all comes from the idea of the energy guide document that you get with a new appliance here in the United States. That's kind of where I got the idea from. And you can actually download the actual energy, or not the energy guide, but the Uke guide off of my blog at ukestuff.info, or you can even do the shortcut at ukeguide.info and look up this instrument and download and print my thoughts on this instrument on a single page, which could be faster than watching the full review if you're interested. So let's get going with it. Cost-wise, this is $129.99, so $130 for a solid acacia instrument that comes with a few things. You get a strap, the Aklot checkered strap, racing strap, and they also include, it's falling out of the bag here, an Aklot tuner and a humidifier, which is kind of nice. Again, not everybody needs to humidify their ukulele, but if you live where I live, you probably need to. If your humidity, relative humidity, where you live, inside your house, where you store your ukuleles, is under 40%, you should humidify. If it is above 40%, you're okay. Above 50% for sure. And if you're getting above 65% humidity where you live inside your house, where your ukulele is stored, then you might want to think about getting a dehumidifier. You also get one of the really nice Aklot bags. They're some of the nicest bags that come with entry-level instruments. All the features that you're probably looking for: decent padding, the little bit of extra protection for the headstock and the tuners, the hanging strap on the back, the lightly padded handle making it nicer to carry, 2 straps on the back, a pretty decently sized pocket, and the rubber bumper on the bottom. I mean, you really can't ask for much more than that for an ukulele, and almost all the Aklots are coming that way these days. So, in terms of value, it's a really decent value, not only for the solid acacia instrument that you're buying, but also for the stuff that you get with it. Now, in terms of build quality, overall, I'm very impressed and am usually impressed with what Aklot does. It rounds the edges, so it's a smooth playing experience. They do a pretty good job with setup, so there's very little problem with sharp fret ends, at least out of the factory. And they do a great job with setup of action on the instrument. That's all good. And my only gripe about the build, and it's a really minor gripe, and I don't know if I'll be able to show you this, but when you get it in the right light, the finish isn't perfectly smooth. I don't think I can capture it in the light, and I'm sorry that I can't. But as you look at the finish, there are little dimples in the finish, waves in the finish. And I think generally it could use another coat or two of gloss so that finish was perfectly smooth without those little dimples in there. And it's not the Acacia. The Acacia is gorgeous. I mean, that's a pretty ukulele. I mean, it just that's beautiful. Acacia is a beautiful wood, and it's not any surprise because koa is a part of the acacia family, right? But it only grows in Hawaii. This is not koa, and do we talk about that here? Well, we can. The ad in Amazon first identifies this as koa and then later says solid acacia. And that just is confusing to buyers. Um, I know other reviewers would say it's just outright misleading and false advertising because it's not koa. I would just hope that perhaps after this review is released, Aklot would reconsider even using the word koa. I don't know why you need to use the word koa, by the way. Use koa for koa. There is no shame in acacia. It's a beautiful wood in of its own right. I mean, I don't understand that. I also don't understand why we avoid using the word laminate in the industry, and not all companies are anymore. Some companies are making a point to identify laminate so it's super clear to its customers. But laminate is not a bad word either. Laminate has its benefits as well. So this is solid acacia, not koa. So we've talked about build quality. It's really good, but what we haven't done is take a look on the inside. That's something I like to do. So let's take a ukulele dive into the ukulele with the Uke Cam, my endoscope. Here we go. Look at the inside of the AKC-B-1, the solid acacia ukulele. Now as we look inside, you can see the vertical brace on the bottom as well as the support that runs along the back and holds the two sides together. As we look in the back, there's the tail piece, a little bit of glue here and there, some extra bracing on the sides. Haven't seen that on any ukuleles before. That's just a line drawn, pretty sure. That just wasn't taken off. And up here we can see that there's a brace that runs down the center of the ukulele. And there's one to the side there and one to the side there as well, sort of a fan brace. And then if we try to look up here, there you can see the bridge brace up there in the solid top. And you can see the two screws that hold in the bridge as well. The bridge is much smaller than the bridge plate, and the bridge plate does not extend to the end of the ukulele top. Now let's take a look at the upper bout. All right, here we go. All right, looking at the upper bout, we also have some braces on the two sides there as well. Again, something that I haven't seen elsewhere. The kerfing is really dark kerfing, and it seems to be at an angle, which I'm not sure what that's all about. Most of them stands just straight upright, but these kind of lay in as an angle. Looking at the top here, there's that extra piece supporting the neck. There's also a horizontal brace across the top of the ukulele above the sound hole. And then we just have some more notch kerfing. And there's that side brace again. So overall, pretty clean build. All right, and that's our look at the Aklot solid acacia, what they're calling the AKC-B1. All right, so as you can see, pretty nice on the inside. No complaints there. The build is quite nice. I definitely approve of the build of the instrument. Now, in terms of appearance, here's where I have a couple gripes with it. And this is all personal. These are nitpicky. Other than the finish issue, here are my two real big thoughts. The first one is I don't like the color of the fretboard and the bridge. That, I want dark for some reason. I want a dark or black, sort of an ebony or a teakwood fretboard and bridge. I just think that would look so classy, especially with those black tuners and the black strap buttons. Even this little bit of lining there that's black, or at least it's darker brown. I think a dark fretboard would be gorgeous on this instrument. So I think that was missed. Now again, I could oil the sandalwood here and oil the bridge. And I think even the bridge shape originally kind of took me aside. It just looks kind of plain. But the more I think about it, if that bridge with its shape was darker, sort of ebony or teakwood, I think I'd like it better. So that's my number one gripe is I don't like the color. Now, does that impact the instrument at all? No, it's just totally preference. But hey, that's what this category is, right? About appearance. Now, here's my other little sort of nitpick is Aklot uses its sort of what I call their rocker uh, logo for this. I don't know that somebody else said this too on the unboxing that they felt that that looks like a 1980s rock band logo, and I totally agree. Whatever band that is from that era, I don't know. It just that doesn't say ukulele to me really, and Aklot is trying to establish itself as a brand. It still continues to do so, and for those of us that have liked Aklot, you know, we spread the word and talk about it a little bit, but it's still a hard sell because you have names like Kala. But remember, Kala's only 16 years old too. So let me show you this too. The other thing that I noticed is that the bag it comes with has their other logo, their sort of cursive logo versus that logo. I have other instruments from Aklot, some that you haven't seen yet on this channel, that do the flip-flop. They have this logo on the ukulele and then the rocker logo there. So it's kind of like someone got confused in assigning the logo. Now, does that really matter? Ultimately, no, but I'm just saying I personally would like the other Aklot logo in there, but it is well done as an inlay on the top of there. I do like that headstock shape, by the way, too. I like that. But those are my two big deals. I don't really like the sandalwood color, and I wish they would have used the other Aklot logo. Pretty minor complaints. Also about appearance, it is still pretty plain. It's very traditional looking in some ways. So just keep that in mind as well. It's kind of a plain looking ukulele. There's no fancy rosette, no sort of cutaway or anything like that. Just kind of a more traditional looking ukulele. Now, in terms of availability, if you want one of these, you can order one on Amazon right now. But I might wait a week from when this video is being released to the Black Friday specials and see if you can save a couple of bucks on one of these if you like this. Now, in terms of playability, this is about the quintessential 35 millimeter setup for a import ukulele. So it's a C-shaped neck, undeniably, 35 millimeters nut, general average spacing. The things that make it a little different or a little more playable is a really good setup in terms of the action. Aklot has been right on par with that, with everyone I've ever played. So realistically, if you don't like a 35 millimeter nut, not for you. If you're a person like me that plays a lot of concerts, some sopranos, and then occasionally tenors and baritones, I have no problem with the playability of this instrument at all. And so it neither really hurts or hinders it the way that it's set up, except the setup itself is good for a 35 millimeter nut. Now, the sound quality is where I have some quibbles, and I'll show you why. Ultimately, when I play a chord, it's brighter than I expect. The other Acacia ukuleles that I have all sort of have a darker tone to them. This one's brighter, but it still lacks shimmer, and then it lacks some of the warmth of those other Acacia instruments that I own. And, in looking at it and the thickness of the top, which is not overly thick or anything, in thinking about that and looking at the inside and seeing the bracing, what I've come to just believe is that it's probably the strings. They're not labeled as such, but they're purplish tint. They're fluorocarbonish strings, so I'm guessing these are D'Addario titaniums. And again, I have nothing against D'Addario, but the titaniums that I've heard on solid wood instruments just haven't been a good match. So this was another instrument that I'm looking forward to changing the strings on, perhaps to Martin 600s or something. Again, they're available everywhere. It's not that Martin 600s have magic, but they're just plain fluorocarbon strings that work well with a lot of things that are available just about anywhere. And I think I'm going to be swapping the strings and seeing if that makes this instrument come more alive. So it's really off the top, the sound is just okay. It's not as loud as it could be. It definitely doesn't have the ring it should have. It's not as warm sounding as it could have, and I think it's the strings rather than the instrument. Now, I could be wrong about that too, and I'll find out. But that's kind of where my head is going after all these reviews and thinking about ukuleles and playing a lot of ukuleles. I think that's where it's at. So the sound is just okay at the moment, and I think it can be better with other strings. The volume is okay. It's not super loud. It tends to be a brighter instrument without the sparkle. So there you go. And the sustain isn't bad, but it's all in that lower range. Now, one of the things I like to do is I like to let you see what I'm hearing, and I use the app Tonal Energy Tuner to let you see what's happening with the sound spectrum as the ukulele is strummed, and then also what happens with the harmonics and the sustain as it's going on. So let's take a look at it. Here it is, and I'll play it a few times. Here's the C chord. So what you can see there is, the whole spectrum lights up as you'd expect when you strum it, but then with the sustain, it doesn't really last very long throughout the spectrum, and it's missing that shimmer on the top. And again, I think that's strings. I do not think it's the instrument, but we'll find out with time. Maybe perhaps I'll get a chance to put on other strings and do a follow-up just discussion about that. We'll see. Check the channel in the future and see. You can search by the Aklot solid Acacia gloss concert ukulele and see if there's an update to that. All right, that is the entire list of subjective issues. Let's talk about the specifications for this instrument. It is a concert ukulele. The scale length, which is the length from the nut to the saddle, is 15 inches. It has 18 frets, 14 to the body. It does have both front and side position markers. It is a traditional double bout ukulele. The soundboard is solid acacia, as are the back and sides. The fretboard and bridge are sandalwood, which again are not my favorite. I wish they would have gone with sort of an ebony or teakwood just for the looks on this instrument. And by the way, that bridge is a slotted bridge, which will make string changes easier for a beginning player. The fretboard is not radius. The nut and saddle are labeled as oxbone on the Amazon posting, but the saddle is not compensated, but it does have kind of a neat shape overall. The finish is gloss, high gloss, but again, it has those little divots all over the place in the gloss finish, as if it could use another coat or final polishing of that to make it glass smooth. The overall length is just a touch under 24 inches. It's 23.875 inches from tip to tail, not counting the strap buttons. And the weight is 1 pound, 6.2 ounces. It's balanced pretty well, but it feels heavier than I think it really is. It comes with black colored closed gears tuners that work really nicely. Aklot has always sort of advertised their tuners. And the action here is really quite nice. It is 0.25 millimeters at the first fret and 2.75 millimeters at the 12th fret. I kind of like it even a touch lower at the 12th fret, but it is absolutely playable and acceptable the way that it is. The nut width is a 35 millimeter nut, 35.31 millimeters. Then I take a look at the string spacing at the first fret. It's just what I do. It's 8.94 millimeters between strings at the first fret and 29.43 millimeters G to A. Pretty much standard, if anything, just a touch, like super slight amount larger than normal, but pretty average. So this is very, very typical. The depth of the neck, which is the top of the strings to the bottom of the neck at the third fret, just another place where I just chose to measure it, was 21.93 millimeters, which is getting pretty thick. So it is a very traditional rounded C-shaped neck. Some people call it a baseball bat. But if you're used to playing ukuleles like that, Kala ukuleles, some other brands, Lanakai and so forth, you'll get that same sense. So as I've said, it's just the quintessential 35 millimeter nut setup on an ukulele. All right, now we've talked about specifications. Let's do the conclusion. Perhaps the most frustrating thing about this instrument is the fact that it says koa on the description before it says anything else on the Amazon listing. And that's too bad because it's not koa, it's acacia, and it's beautiful acacia, and that shouldn't be something that we need to confuse anybody with by using the word koa. Koa is a specific wood from Hawaii, and it just doesn't need to be said. So I would just hope, again, that Aklot considers that and takes away the word koa, because they don't need to. They don't need to. Just say solid acacia, and that's all you need to say, because that's enough. That's enough. So Aklot has moved in a very interesting way as a company, introducing a really nice solid top mahogany, although styled differently, ukulele, and then moving to bamboo and now to solid acacia, slowly expanding their offerings in the ukulele world. It's really a bargain for all that you're getting in a solid wood instrument with a good sound. Absolutely. Now, I do have some personal nitpicks with the styling. Not a big fan of the logo that they used with it when I like their other logo for ukulele better. And then, of course, I'm not a big fan of the sandalwood. I've said that 3 times now in this video. And then also just a slight amount of disappointment in the gloss finish, where it seems like it could have used one more coat of gloss and polishing to have a perfectly smooth finish. Now, the big issue for me is the sound of the instrument. It's not a bad sounding instrument, but I think it can be better. And I don't think it's really the instrument's fault. I think it's the pairing of the strings that go with it. And I would just try fluorocarbons. I'm going to probably try fluorocarbons on this ukulele and see what I think about it. You might find yourself thinking the same thing. So, with that in mind, I give an ukulele a rating between 0 and 5 ukuleles. And the higher up you go, obviously, the more of a home run instrument that I think it is. As it stands, the way that it's set up, the way that it ships to you, the accessories you get, and the sound that you get with what you get with it, I would give this instrument a 4 out of 5 ukuleles. That could change. That could go up if I change the strings and I like the sound better. As shipped, this is a 4 out of 5, and that's really respectable. It's recommended to you. Definitely, if you like how this looks, you have no reason not to get it. And in fact, if you put new strings on, it might be just wonderful beyond belief. We'll find out. So that is the Aklot High Gloss Solid Acacia Concert Ukulele. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you're having a great day, and I will be back soon with some more uke stuff for you.